Spokane Valley could become a sanctuary city of a different
Councilman
kind.
Caleb Collier says that this
I'm proposing that the city of Spokane Valley issue a proclamation stating that our city is a Second Amendment sanctuary city.
Welcome to the fire.
Today on Church and State, the Health Ranger, Mike Adams. Hello, Christian Patriots, and welcome to Church and State, where we drive morality and religion over tolerance and apathy. And I'm your host, Caleb Collier, once again, your favorite far-right shock jock, and the show that talks about politics and religion. Jesus Christ is our referee, so it's always nice and clean. Real quick, point you to the website. Fill out this form for us, churchandstate.media. Get our newsletter, and of course, a personal phone call from yours truly. While you're there, check out the most recent episodes. Please share these with friends, family, and neighbors, continuing to cover hard-hitting topics and the best guests. Speaking of guests, check out our featured guest page. We've had some incredible people join us over the years. Ron Paul, obviously one of my favorites, but Mike Adams is going to be on there real soon as well. Click on their name. It'll take you right to the episode. Of course, shop through our great affiliates. These are companies that I support, that I personally shop with. With all of those, use that promo code Church and State. Many of those, you'll get a discount, but regardless, you'll be helping to support us. And speaking of support, doing what we do takes money, ladies and gentlemen, and we're already part of NRBTV, Broadcasting Network, Your News, a lot of different great platforms, and national syndication beginning in August with AM/FM radio costs money. So please, anything you can throw our way, we greatly appreciate it. Lastly, if you want to get a hold of us, Church and State 1776 at proton.me. With that, let's go ahead and bring on our guest. I am thrilled to bring to you the Health Ranger, Mike Adams. This is a man who shouldn't need any introduction. He's been an incredible warrior for, eating healthy, eating clean, going against this surveillance state system that's been a big focus of his as of late, and prepping people for what's coming our way. Mike, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Well, hello, Caleb. It's an honor to be on your show. Thank you for the invitation. It's very nice to meet you, and I really look forward to whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, well, I definitely want to talk about what you want to talk about. And one of the things that I've been following you, because I will say this to the audience, people ask me who I listen to. This is one of the guys that I always am watching, not in a weird way, but in a good way. But this is a guy that is one of my sources, is Mike Adams, because I know I can trust him. I've listened to him for years. And one of the things that you're warning people about is to get ready, because something's coming our way.
Yeah, thank you, Caleb. And by the way, I'm really humbled to hear that. I do my best to put out really practical, useful information. I don't do clickbaity stuff, but I am warning about what I genuinely believe is coming. You know, we're going to have obviously a global energy shock. There's a global fertilizer shortage. We have the rise of the surveillance state that everyone can see right in front of them right now with the flock cameras and so much more. We have our failing national currency, which has been failing since 1971, by the way, when Nixon took us off the gold standard. So I'm trying to help people get prepared for all of this, and I've had a very positive message, despite all the doom, which is that it's not that difficult to be able to navigate what's coming. It's just that most people have no idea. Most people are ignorant of it, and they don't have a lot of practical skills. But you can learn those things. We must learn those things. You can apply them, and you can navigate. You and your family can make it through all of this. So that's my ultimate message.
I love that message. And, I definitely want to focus a little bit more towards the end of the show on solutions. But perhaps first, let's start with that warning. And you bring up a lot. I mean, the surveillance state, global famine, our economy. You haven't thrown President Trump in there, but I will. And I think you probably agree with me on that. But let's discuss and dissect some of the things that you and I probably both see in our not too distant future.
Well, let's start with the big picture. The erosion of the value of the dollar has impoverished the American middle class. Whereas back in the 1970s, let's say, a family, a mom and dad with 2 or 3 kids could easily afford to have a home and to raise their children and feed them well and clothe them, et cetera. And in many cases, you only had to have one parent working. The other parent, could be the homemaker. That's fiscally impossible today. And it's because of the erosion of the purchasing power of the dollar, which is really a result of decades of theft by the Treasury via the Federal Reserve. So I'm a Ron Paul fan, as you are. Ron Paul has always been right about this. The Federal Reserve and the money printing system is a form of theft from the American people. And that theft has become so bad now that it's thrusting a large amount of the middle class into poverty. This is only going to get worse because of what I mentioned earlier, the energy shock. Energy prices are already rising. You know, Trump has got us thick into this Vietnam of the Middle East, which is the war with Iran. You know, seems to be no escape from it. And refineries are burning. They're burning in Saudi Arabia. They're burning in Russia. They're being hit by drones. The world's energy supply is dwindling. Although the U.S. is very blessed and very abundant with our own domestic natural energy, we still import over 6 million barrels of oil per day, and we still depend on importation of the heavy crude oil for production of things like diesel and jet fuel. So even though we'll have plenty of gasoline in America, we're not going to have plenty of diesel. Prices are going to go up. There might be rationing later in the year. Food prices will rise as a result. It's just becoming more and more difficult for a typical American person to be able to survive all of this. So that's just the financial aspect of what we could talk about. Then there's the police state, the surveillance, and also the censorship that continues to get worse, and the insults, the assaults on our health, through, the spike protein, through pesticides, herbicides, all these kinds of things. So I can go in any of these areas that you want, but that kind of sets up the framework here.
Yeah, I would agree. And speaking of the economy, it really is sad to see what they've done to the United States. And, I think original price of like a home was like $12,000, maybe something around there. You look at the average price throughout America. Well, I mean, depending, sometimes you get into like areas like San Francisco, it's just unattainable. But even with like the flyover states, it's still very, very expensive. And you pointed out quite concisely that you can't afford this. Parents, both of them, have to be working sometimes 2 jobs per parent to be able to work. And then the kids are being raised by the public education, which shouldn't even exist. It's not
Right.
a pretty picture for our country.
No, and there's no coming back from that. So, I want to be clear. I love America. I love the founding principles of America. I'm a fan of the founding fathers. I mean, I share a name with, one of them, John Adams, right? Who was an amazing figure in our history, or Samuel Adams. I mean, right? So I love America, but I hate what the treasonous actors in charge over the last few decades have done to our country. So we don't have our America any longer. What we have is factions of criminal cabals that take turns running the White House and printing money and distributing money to all their friends, or the war machine, or when Obama was in office, it was all the scams of the solar companies that didn't even do anything, but they scammed hundreds of millions of dollars, right? So we are living now as subjects under a slave state that is far from the original vision. So when I criticize Trump or Biden, I'm not criticizing the founding principles of our constitutional republic. I'm criticizing the perversion that it has become. And that, I fear, there's no coming back from it. It's going to end up in a reset. And that reset will be a very difficult time for people. It is survivable, but it can happen very quickly in an asymmetrical way. It can take decades to build up to the moment of collapse. And when that collapse happens, most people won't know what's going on. They'll be lost, and that's why they need to watch your show. Stay informed, and then you won't be surprised.
Certainly, and I echo exactly what you just said there. I love the foundation of this country. I love the Declaration, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. I love the Anti-Federalist Papers a little bit more than the Federalist Papers, I got to say.
Yeah,
but. Let's focus, and actually, as I'm kind of organically going through this, I said we'll cover solutions at the latter part, but as we talk about all these different subjects, I want to provide solutions after every single one. So when we're looking at the economy and the collapse of it, which I believe is very intentional, as do you, are you on the side of precious metals? Are you a Bitcoin guy? What are the things that you think the people should be moving their money into?
Well, let me back up, and thank you for asking that. But my bigger answer, and I'll get to specifics, is that we live in a system, a universe created by our divine creator that gives us natural abundance. So abundance is a natural state of our universe and of our lives. And the only reason people don't live in abundance is because of the interdictions of man. You know, evil men, greedy men, power-hungry men, whatever, have created these scarcities that we are talking about. Scarcity of real value of money, for example. That's created by men. But real wealth comes from Mother Nature and God. So real wealth is, for example, when you go wild harvest some herbs from the forest, or even just dandelions growing in your backyard, which have anti-cancer properties and liver supporting properties, etc. The dandelion leaves versus the dandelion roots versus the flowers, they all have different properties. You don't have to pay the government for those things. You don't have to use currency. So one way, when I talk about how to really, what is real wealth, it's bypassing the artificial man-made systems. So I'm not even talking about having more dollars, or right now I'm not talking about stacking gold or silver, although I do those things. That's an asset protection strategy in our man-made system. But the real wealth is when you take broccoli seeds, right, and you put them in a mason jar and you sprout broccoli sprouts that creates sulforaphane. And sulforaphane is one of the most miraculous medicines. You know, if Big Pharma could get their greedy little hands on it, they would charge $1,000 a dose. You can grow it for nearly free, and you don't even need a yard. You don't even need sunlight. It'll sprout, in the dark in your kitchen. But that medicine, sulforaphane, it's one of the most powerful medicines. It's anti-cancer, it's neuroprotective, fights neuroinflammation, and it also enhances DNA repair. So all the DNA damage caused by the spike protein circulation or ionizing radiation or chemical solvent exposure, that is repaired by your body using a natural mechanism that you were born with because it's a gift from God. You can repair your own DNA, but you have to have the right nutrients to do it. You can acquire those nutrients for free. So see, this is just an example, Caleb, of where I'm talking about bypassing the man-made systems and going straight to our Creator and the gifts that our Creator put in place for us. And you've probably heard me talk about this in my podcast. Another one is sunlight via solar collection of energy, where you can create your own electricity. And, I talked about there have been solar scams in the past, but today, solar energy, that's the sun of God, literally in the sky, the S-U-N of God is giving you energy. You can collect it and harvest it, and you can use it now to charge an electric vehicle, or to charge batteries for power tools, to build a barn, or whatever, to run a computer that runs a local AI model that gives you knowledge. And the thing is, the government can't tax the energy you get from the sun, and you don't have to pay for that energy using after-tax dollars. You see, if I pay the electric company, I have to first earn an income, and then the government comes along and confiscates some big portion of that from the IRS. And then with whatever I have left over, I pay for electricity. If you go straight to Mother Nature and God, you don't have to mess with any of that. You don't pay taxes on sunlight. You don't pay taxes on sprouts. You don't pay taxes on garden vegetables that you grow yourself, or the microbiology that's in the soil that itself has healing properties. On and on and on. Or rainwater that you collect out of the sky for free. You don't pay in man's currency for those things. So what I'm really trying to emphasize with a lot of people right now is, yes, we have one foot in the world of man and the world of dollars, and you have to know how to navigate that world. You have to pay your electric bill at the moment unless you're able to get entirely off grid, etc. But real wealth comes from Mother Nature and God. And then the more you can recognize that and embrace that and put that into your life, the better off you're going to be. That's my bottom line.
I absolutely love that solution for the audience. You're giving real and tangible ways that people can get out of the system, exit it, and as you put it, participate in God's wealth versus this artificial man's wealth that they've created.
Yes.
Yeah, I absolutely love that you gave that example for us, and I think for the vast majority of the people, the audience listening to this, those are things that you need to grab a hold of, ladies and gentlemen, and start looking at that. Bring back victory gardens. This used to be a thing within the United States, and people don't do that. And you can do that, as you were pointing out, Mike, with the broccoli sprouts. You can do that with a very small, area. You don't need acres and acres. You don't need to be necessarily in the countryside, although that is a question I'm going to bring up in a little bit, talking about getting out of the cities. But yeah, that is a great solution that you offered for the audience.
You can grow your own anti-cancer medicine very inexpensively. And let me give you another practical example of this. So it's pretty easy to grow things like holy basil, for example, or cilantro, or simple kind of garden herbs. You can grow them in a windowsill. And you know what the best way is to extract the medicine out of those? It's very simple. You have a firearm right behind you there. You've heard of the ultrasonic cleaners, right? You clean your firearm parts in an ultrasonic cleaner, right? Mm-hmm. So you disassemble your Glock and you put the parts and the slide and everything in there. Well, you can buy that same ultrasonic cleaner. You can buy them on Amazon dirt cheap. But instead of using it to clean gun parts, what you do is you take your herbs. Now, I grow pine needles. I grow loblolly pine trees, and they are very rich in something called shikimic acid. And shikimic acid is an anti-plague molecule. It's actually the molecule that's used in the Roche drug called Tamiflu, which is known as an antiviral medicine. It's made from pine needles, okay? I grow the pine needles. and then I take the pine needles and I put them in an ultrasonic little cleaner thing that costs, 30 or 40 bucks. And here's the secret. You put in 50% water and 50% alcohol, vodka, something like that. Roughly 50-50. That is the universal extraction ratio to extract almost everything from almost all the herbs that you can grow. And if you don't have alcohol, just use water. That will work about 80% as well, just water. But if you have alcohol, add that in, you're going to get more extraction of more molecules. Then you strain that out. Now I have made anti-plague natural medicine tea. And it's something that Native Americans would make because it's also rich in vitamin C. And it's rich in all these anti-plague nutrients. So again, have I had to get a doctor's permission? No. Have I had to visit the doctor? Is there a copay? No. Did I have to go to the pharmacy? Did I have to have a prescription? Did I have to wait for the pharmacy? No. Did I have to have health insurance to do that? No. No. Because I'm not working in man's synthetic death cult system. I'm working in God's system of natural healing by growing your own medicine and making your own tea using a little bit of electricity and an ultrasonic cleaner. You can do it that easy.
I absolutely love that. I encourage the audience to do exactly what you just said and get out of big pharma. Tamiflu isn't the only drug that has been created that they're using nature and then they're patenting it and then they're charging you buku bucks to get something that you can create yourself. Lavender, for example, is one of those that is used frequently within big pharma for its health properties. So there's a lot of this that you can grow yourself, and it's not hard. And you're teaching people how to do this through your books, through your podcasts. They can listen to you and then just go experiment in their own backyard.
Yeah, absolutely true. And I put resources out there for free that let people, for example, my book platform, brightlearn.ai, hope you don't mind me mentioning it, but all the books are free. There's over 70,000 books, and many of those books are, and by the way, they're created by our AI engine that references all of the millions of pages of articles that I have gathered, including natural news articles and transcripts of interviews, 1,000 interviews from different parties, and articles from all kinds of websites that have donated to that project, like Dr. Mercola and Sayer G and The Truth About Cancer and so on. They've all donated to the project. So if you go to brightlearn.ai, you can either create a book yourself, it's free, or you can download any of the 70,000 books. And some of them are books about herbs, about how to grow your own garden, how to be more self-reliant, how to build a home solar system, how to use or how to live without electricity if it comes to that. or how to make electricity work better for you, things like that. So I really worked, Caleb, to try to make knowledge more freely available and to bring the cost of knowledge down to zero. Because I think knowledge is a fundamental human right. And I think one of these interventions of man, which is really, let's say, a proxy for Satanism through some of these men, right? I mean, they're just puppets for Satan, is to keep humanity ignorant and to isolate you from the gifts of Mother Nature. Because those gifts are things that empower you. And knowledge is one of those things that empowers you. So they want to keep you ignorant. They want to have censorship. They want to indoctrinate you in the public school system so that you never know how to think for yourself. And they also want you to live in their 15-minute cities, so you have no skills. You're not hands-on anything. You don't know how to build a fence. You don't know how to cut the hooves off of a goat or anything. Like you have no skills. I mean, for maintenance, because their hooves get long. I have goats, so sometimes we have to grind the hooves down, right? But they don't want you to have any skills at all. They don't want you to have any knowledge at all, because frankly, the Satanists and the globalists, they just don't want humans around. And that's their ultimate goal, is really depopulation. And that's accelerating.
You're absolutely right. And speaking to that, and really the 15-minute cities, the depopulation, their agenda there, you have been, as of late, really encouraging people to get outside of the cities because of what's coming at us. And so I'd love to ask you that question as to why people need to. Now might be the time to sell, to get out into more of a rural area. Please tell the audience why you think this is so essential.
Sure, so many reasons. And by the way, I'm not judging anyone if you can't leave the city. Some people have a very important reason for staying there, like a family member or a lucrative job or whatever. I get it. But if you can, or at least have a bug out location outside the city, there are so many things that work in your favor there. So number one, when populations start to go hungry or lose their life savings, or if there's a banking collapse, or if the food stamps stop working, the high density cities is where all the chaos is going to be. That's where mobs will loot grocery stores or gas stations, or even they'll go, through neighborhoods and house to house and just, pillage, right? So I don't want to be there. I don't want to have to shoot a bunch of people with my AR to defend my home. I'd rather just not be there, right? I'm not looking for a fight. I mean, I'm competent that I can defend my home, if I have to, but I'd just rather not be there. So out in the country, you have all these advantages where, especially if you go to an agricultural area, this is the best thing to look for. Typically, it's a red county in a red state. I live in Central Texas, and it's perfect because you can do things like, for example, you can buy a 500-gallon diesel storage tank and have it delivered, and it's not weird. Right? You don't stand out like some weirdo in the neighborhood where the HOA is like, what are you doing with 500 gallons of diesel? No, in an agricultural community, that's totally normal because I also have a tractor. And I don't want to, hand carry diesel fuel all day long. And of course you're going to have, and then a company comes out with a big truck and fills up 500 gallons of diesel. That's normal. And then you just have more space. So when there is chaos, if there is starvation or social upheaval, rioting in the cities, very few people will get that far out of the cities. Typically, one gas tank full of travel distance is about what you can count on. Because there could be fuel shortages, and probably the National Guard might be deployed on the highways, et cetera, right? Whereas law enforcement may not even go into the inner cities. At some point, it might just become, Escape from LA. It's like, let's just wall this thing off and whatever happens, But people try to come out of the cities, there's going to be checkpoints. There's going to be maybe law enforcement, maybe U.S. military if they're deployed at that point. Who knows? But the farther away you are from that, the better off you are. And then living in the country forces you to learn self-reliance, forces you, right? Do you live in a rural area? I would imagine you do.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
There's an unfortunate thing in that I live in Washington State, but I'm in Eastern Washington, and I live out on some acreage. So yes, I'm out in the country, but I'm in a very, very blue state, in a red area, but still, the politics are pretty rough.
Well, Eastern Washington is a great area in terms of its geography, right? So you're in a great area. Also, like Eastern Oregon as well, right? And Idaho, obviously. So, but I understand you probably don't drive into Seattle very much, or Tacoma or whatever. Yeah, I don't blame you. I'm the same way. I'm in Texas. We don't go to Austin. We try to stay out of Houston as much as possible because that Houston's not going to do well in the middle of a collapse. You don't want to be in downtown Houston, but you do want to be in an agricultural area. And so you're going to learn all these skills that will be very beneficial for you. Also, the land is cheaper, et cetera. Property taxes are much lower. And there's a culture where even like local law enforcement is much more amenable to self-defense or the right to carry a firearm. So when I'm out and about in the local town or out picking up supplies at the retail stores, of course I'm always carrying, and sometimes it's not that concealed, you know what I mean? I pull my shirt over it. I'm not trying to show it, but if I bend to pick up something, you're going to see, oh, there's a Glock there, nobody cares. And there's people open carrying all around. And I hear gunfire on the weekends, and it to me, it feels like freedom. It's like, it's not a gang shooting happening because I live downtown. The gunfire that I hear is people becoming proficient in self-defense and community defense. So I love hearing gunfire on the weekends. And that's something that sounds strange to city dwellers. But the more you live out in the country, the more you'll come to realize that you want your neighbors to be capable of defending themselves and learning how to do everything, repairing fences, corralling, getting the lost cattle back in the yard, because they're walking around the streets, and which is never good. The sheriff doesn't like that when your cattle are walking down the road, So you learn how to be a real American when you live out in the country.
I so agree. I mean, I'm actually a little bit tired this morning. My son woke me up at 2:30 this morning, and there was coyotes, and they were out by the horses. So I grabbed my AR, and I'm outside. And just about a month ago, our neighbors called us at about 10 o'clock at night. Their 3 buffalo had escaped, and so we spent the evening corralling 3 buffalo. So yeah, I mean, it's a different experience. But I do agree. You're leaning on your neighbors a little bit more. You have a good, healthy relationship. You hear a gun go off, it's probably somebody just taking care of a coyote. You got nothing to worry about there, really. So it's definitely, I would encourage the audience to get out into the country if you can.
Yeah. And again, you're just going to have so much more buffer space and the ability to stockpile and store the things that you need to make it through, and the space to do gardening. By the way, I have donkeys on my property.
They're awesome.
Donkeys are coyote stompers.
Yes.
Right? Coyotes are terrified of the donkeys.
If the audience doesn't know what my guest is talking about here, go look that up. There are videos of donkeys. They will literally grab them by the nape of their neck, swing them around, throw them on the ground, and then just stomp the crud out of them. It's awesome. I'm a little envious that you got some donkeys.
It's so cool, and it's funny because we rescued these donkeys from the 2011 fires of Central Texas. And we were told that the donkeys were fixed, and it was one male and one female at the time. And turns out they weren't fixed. And then one day, the female gives birth, right?
I got to pause you real quick, Mike. I'm sorry. We got that hard break. We're going to come back to the audience, and we're going to finish the story about the donkeys here.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want all of you to be a walking billboard. Some of us don't have platforms such as Church and State, but you know what? We can wear t-shirts and engage in great conversations with Christians and patriots all across the country. Stand Up Now Apparel is the best t-shirts out there. These are American-made, owned by a Christian and a patriot, and the material, it's like getting a warm hug from yours truly. One of the better things as well is there's no tags. I hate tags. I know you do as well. I don't know how many times I've cut off a tag and ended up with a hole in my shirt. You never have to worry about that with Stand Up Now Apparel. These are the best shirts out there with the greatest messages. Let me give you a few examples. There's a t-shirt out there that says Armed with Ephesians 6 on it. I gotta tell you, when I wear this in town, I get a lot of comments and a lot of eyebrow raises. There's other shirts that include Pure Blood in Hebrew, obviously in reference to the vaccines. And also, you can get Church and State merch there as well. We've got our flagship shirt, I Was Born for a Storm, with Church and State right on it. You got to order this shirt. Go to Stand Up Now Apparel for t-shirts and hats, all of this great merch with great Christian and patriotic messages. Remember to use that promo code Church and State.
And we are back, and thank you for staying with us. You're over at churchandstate.media, and we're going to go right back to our guest. But real quick, I got to plug one of our great affiliates, and I'm going to go to mark37.com, ladies and gentlemen. You know I work for them, but I love this company, okay? I want you guys to have a Ghost phone that uses Graphene OS. I want you to have a Linux computer. These are things that you can find at mark37.com. Look, anybody can do this. We make it easy, all right? Not everybody's tech savvy, so you can literally just take your SIM card out of your phone, plug it into ours, and it's working right there, and you're going to be 100 times better than what you currently carry in your pocket. So go check them out, mark37.com. Use the promo code Church and State. You're going to get a discount, and you'll help support us. And one more time, hit the donate button for us. Look, I'm telling you, I bring in great guests. We do great shows, but I need help to continue to do so. So please hit the donate button. All right, with that, let's go back to our guest, Mike Adams, the health ranger. He was talking about how he got these donkeys and did not know that he was soon going to have. Are they a herd of donkeys? What are they called?
I don't know. Maybe a herd's the right one. But anyway, hey, real quick before I finish that story, on my desk here, I want to show you. I also have a Linux laptop here. Can you guys show that view? Yeah, this is a Linux laptop. I actually flashed it with Linux, and then I'm running Windows over here, and so I run Linux for the safety reasons, kind of like what you were just talking about there. And I also run Graphene OS on a phone, a de-Googled phone. So what you're talking about there with Mark 3.7, is it?
Yep, Mark 3.7.
That's critical. It's critical for people. You don't want your phone tracking you and reporting into Google or Apple, megabytes of data about you every single day. And Windows is spyware. There's just no way around it. So I'm running Linux Mint. And it's an easy operating system. It does everything that I want it to do, and you can flash it on there with a thumb drive. So I just want to back up what you were talking about there with your sponsor.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and that is one of those solutions that you and I both know is essential to get people, off their iPhones, off their Android phones. And Mike, let me just ask you this: is it hard to do? Is it like, do you need to be this tech geek to be able to figure out Graphene OS?
Well, not anymore. No, I mean, I would say like 5 years ago, yeah, but it's been made so much easier now. You just have to learn a few new things, but it's not a showstopper. Typically, the most difficult part is that you don't have direct access to Google Play. So then for apps, right, you have to download a different file. But it's a simple skill. It can be learned, and you gain your privacy as a result. So it's worth learning how to do that.
It absolutely is. There was a case of an individual, because most of these Graphene OS phones have a duress password where you can wipe the phone. And there was this case of this guy who just got arrested because I think it was the TSA wanted his phone, and he killed it. He nuked the phone, and now because they didn't have a warrant, and now they're charging him with destruction of property.
I saw that, but I believe it was actually the TSA agent typed in the code that he gave them. So he was asked, what's your code, right? He gave them the duress code. They typed it in, so they destroyed the data. So right. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with this court case, And how do we, why can't the guy just say, well, that's the correct code. The system just created itself, because Windows does that all the time. How do we know? I mean, I wouldn't even admit that it's a duress code. I would just say, "What? You must have done something wrong, man. You destroyed it. That's on you."
Exactly. That would be my attack as well. It'd be like, "Hey, I didn't do it. You did it. Why'd you break my phone?
What'd you type in? You destroyed my phone. You owe me a phone."
Yep.
I
think that's a great solution. So yeah, I mean, to the audience, this is one of those things that's a simple solution. This is, I guess, backing up. I mean, my guest, Mike Adams, is talking about the fact that all of these are simple solutions. Moving out to the country, maybe that's a little bit harder. You got to sell your house, and in this market, it can be a little bit rough. But growing a garden, getting a Ghost phone or a Ghost laptop, those are pretty simple solutions.
They are. And sprouting. Think about how simple sprouting is. Or making your own medicinal extract using, an ultrasonic cleaner. with water. I mean, come on, right? Yeah. By the way, use clean water. Don't use like city water for that, all right? But use really clean water. But a lot of these things really are simple, and it doesn't cost a fortune to be much better prepared. But anyway, to finish the story about the donkey, so the female donkey gave birth, and she freaked out because she had never given birth before. She's like, "What just happened?" And she's running away, and I'm like, "What?" And I'm seeing that she must have just given birth. And so I go looking for the baby donkey because it wasn't with her. And maybe 100 yards away, there it is. The baby donkey, just like freshly born, wasn't even standing up yet and wasn't dried off, right? So I picked up the baby donkey. And they're not light. They're not light creatures. Even when they're born, they're pretty hefty. So I carry this baby donkey, and I'm like chasing the mother, like, this is your baby, And my goal is to get the baby, nursing. So I put the baby, and then it stood up, and it's freaking out. So I put it like right under where its mouth is supposed to be able to nurse, and then I back away, and it figured it out in about 10 minutes, and it started nursing. I'm like, okay, from here, they're good. But I didn't know I was going to have to like reunite a newborn donkey. I'm just glad I could carry the thing,
Like and just for the audience's sake, Mike, this does not mean that you love Democrats. I'm just going to throw that out there in case anybody was confused about that.
No, I love life. I love animals, and so I've rescued a lot of different animals. Right now, I have 2 male goats that we essentially rescued. They would have become dog food. And I just love animals. But given that they are donkeys, they do complain a lot, and they want handouts constantly. They're always like begging me for carrots and things. So maybe that's fitting. I don't know.
It probably is, for sure. Well, thank you for sharing that with the audience. It's a great story. And it goes to prove that you can have fun while you're fighting tyranny as well. That you can get out there and enjoy the little things like the birth of a baby donkey, which is absolutely beautiful. Returning back to some of this, some of the things that are really going wrong with the world, I wanted to ask you, 2 things. Number one, COVID-19. Now, this was a really, really strange time in American history. I see a lot of silver linings there. I believe you do as well. Woke a lot of people up. But I do believe that they're going to come at us with something else. What say you?
Absolutely. You nailed it. So COVID was a pilot program, really an obedience test, I think, to see what they could get away with. So number one, they injected people with mRNA instructions that hijack their cells to churn out spike protein toxins. So we actually have what I call vaccine fallout that's happening. It's kind of like, radiation fallout with radioisotopes, but there's vaccine fallout happening all over. Shedding, it's also known as shedding. I call it vaccine fallout. That's taking place. But the obedience test showed the powers that be that they can get away with almost anything. They can make people do the craziest things. Remember having the little footprints on the floor at the retail stores?
I never stood in them.
Stand 6 feet apart. Yeah, no, me neither. I'm like, are you kidding me? What is this? Kindergarten? I mean, I'm not standing your stupid footprints. And some of the stores had, some aisles were one way, and then the next aisle was the other way. Like they're one-way roads. I'm like, come on. No. What are you gonna do? Write me a ticket? I'm here. I'm picking up some stuff.
I'm already not wearing a mask, so I'm not, part of that system. Yeah.
Right. I'm not playing your game here. So, but it was a really amazing obedience test, and it showed that the vast majority of the ignorant masses will go along with the craziest stuff. Remember the images of the high school band, maybe it was a middle school band practice, and they had to wear tents around themselves and their band instruments. I felt sorry for the trombone kid. It's like that trombone didn't even really fit in that tent, But they did that just to see if they could, to see if people would go along with it, and people did. That's crazy. So what do you think they have next?
Yeah, they're going to come out with something next, and they're already pushing it. New vaccines, and we ignored the hantavirus. I think it's the first time in history where we beat a virus just by ignoring it. Like, wait, we're not doing this again.
Not doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, but they will come out with something else, guaranteed.
Sure. And it's very easy for them to do that because all they have to do is build a chemical weapon and then aerosolize it and release it in a city and call it a viral outbreak. Simple as that. In fact, that's probably what already happened. So,
Sure.
I mean, these aren't conspiracy theories. You can look up the whole history of the U.S. military conducting biological and chemical experiments on Americans, releasing, like, I think it was Operation Ocean Spray, was it, or Sea Spray? They sprayed the Bay Area in California with microbes to see what would happen. And they killed a couple of people. And that, Tuskegee, obviously, using military and using prisoners. And over all the years, lots of soldiers have been used for biological experiments, medical experiments, civilians in some cases, over and over again. So this is actually a well-documented history of what the U.S. government has done against its own people. It's always used the people as lab rats.
Oh, yeah. I mean, myself, being a Marine Corps veteran, I was given the anthrax vaccines and until they started killing people, and then they stopped. But, yeah, I mean, I've been experimented on myself. And
Exactly.
I would say most Americans, especially after COVID, you've all been experimented on. Many of you don't realize it. Within that, and I think this is a good transition, I want to ask you about MAGA because I have been frustrated. Now, I haven't voted Republican for president in a number of years, probably going back all the way to Bush. Did vote for Ron Paul. That was my guy. But Trump finally got me. I voted for Trump one time. He finally got me. And I regret that. I've been very open with the audience about that. I regret that I did. But talking with some of these MAGA people and the agenda that Trump and his administration seem to be pushing, I don't know what it's going to take to wake them up. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, number one, you take no blame for voting for Trump the first time or even the second time. And I voted for him twice, but not the third time. You take no blame at all because we are not responsible for someone's future actions if they betray their own words, right? We have to judge people based on good faith assessment of what they are saying, and we think that they're going to follow through. So it was rational to vote for Trump, given the alternatives that exist. I mean, look what happened with Joe Biden. That wasn't pretty either, right? But what we've all learned since then is that, it almost doesn't matter which party's in charge. It's just a different kind of cartel, right? It's a different faction. And neither faction cares about the American people or represents the American people. So the only question is, how much damage will the next faction do to this republic? And sadly, the MAGA faction, which is shrinking rapidly, there's really not that many hardcore MAGA people left because so many people who used to be independents and then became MAGA, they've gone away from MAGA and they're back to being independents or even talking about starting a third party, a new party. I don't know if that's going to happen, but we'll see. But the issue is principles, right? So you and I both agree we support candidates based on what we perceive to be their principles. Trump promised peace. He promised prosecutions of the traitors. He promised that the election rigging of 2024 would be, or 2020, excuse me, would be investigated, or that what about Fauci, right? What about the bioweapons? What about all of that?
Epstein's
Trump
Island.
Epstein, right? There's a great example. These promises were all betrayed. That's the issue. It's not that people betrayed Trump. It's that Trump betrayed his own promises to the people. And of course, the people are going to move away from that. And so as a result, it looks like politically in the midterms, it looks like Democrats are going to take the House for sure, or almost certainly, maybe the Senate, but just the House alone gives them, subpoena power, investigation power. They're going to hound the Trump administration for the next 2 years. And again, the sad part of that is nothing's going to get done for the American people. And by the way, I don't even think we need 90% of our government. I think we should slash 9 out of 10 federal jobs, slash the budget 90%, get everything back to local. We don't need an FDA. We don't need a CDC. We don't need an NIH. None of that garbage, right? And even military spending, I do support national defense, but there's so much waste and fraud in the system. It could be cut to 1/4 the current size if it were spent wisely and smartly, and we would still be able to defend our nation, So it's way overbloated. Everything's become a giant money laundering scam in Washington, D.C., and I'm completely fed up with it, as most people are. The only reason I'm going to go vote in the next election is to vote against Senator Ted Cruz.
Amen. Thank you.
My senator, in Texas. I'm so fed up with that man. I don't even know who he's running against at this point. I don't even know. But I'm going to find someone else to vote for, even if I just have to write in my donkey's name, like Jackson, right? Just put it in, But I'm voting against Ted Cruz. That's what's got me motivated.
I absolutely love that. I get very frustrated with the amount of conservatives who think Ted Cruz is a great guy. He's not. He is absolutely
He doesn't represent Texas.
No,
he's always talking about some other country all the time.
I've said this before, Mike. He is a representative of the Lone Star State, but it's not Texas. Yeah, draw your own conclusions, audience.
That's a really valid point. Yeah, is it a blue and white star pattern?
I think Mike picked up what I was putting down there. Yeah.
Yeah.
For
it's
sure.
not Texas. Right. I mean, look, where'd my stuff go? See, this is the pin I usually wear. You probably can't see it, but it's the Texas flag, and then this flag over here, it says Texas Rangers. It was given to me by a Texas Ranger for fighting for the principles and the ideals that the great state of Texas was founded on after it was the Republic of Texas. And the truth is, we can go back to being a republic again. Maybe we will, we might have to, because Texas is fully self-sufficient, and we have the attitude of self-sufficiency as well. And there are other states that have that attitude, like Idaho, for example, right?
Yeah, Idaho definitely does.
And probably Eastern Washington would just join Idaho, and just separate from the coastal madness.
I agree. And actually, my family lineage, I have a relative grandfather that was a Texas Ranger. So maybe it's time for me to get back to Texas, where my roots are. It'd be a great place to be. We've run out of time. I know you got another interview here, but real quick, I want to push how people can follow you. So number one, on X, you can see it, ladies and gentlemen, the Health Ranger right there. Massive following. If you're not following Mike on X, you should be. And then number two, brightvideos.com as well. This is where you can see all the different guests that he's had, all the different shows. I like, Mike, that you're doing long format, but you're also doing just little tiny short things. Smart people don't need smart watches. Thank you for saying that. And that's a minute 22.
It's like 2 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot on here, but please tell people why they should go to both websites.
Yeah, so thank you for that. Naturalnews.com is where my articles are. Brightvideos.com, you just mentioned there. And then my handle on X is Health Ranger, as you said. Also, my AI engine, which is a pro-liberty, pro-natural medicine, free AI engine, is brightanswers.ai, and I encourage you to use it every single day. We fund it with the sales of our products, so we keep it free for the public.
Well,
so there you go.
Yeah, I'm going to encourage the audience to go and check out all the websites. We'll include those in the show notes so people can just link right to them. But Mike, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I want to thank you for your years of service to our republic and fighting against tyranny. But I'm going to go ahead and close this out. If you hold on one more minute post-production to say our goodbyes, I'd appreciate it. But thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. The Health Ranger, Mike Adams, an absolute giant in the war for liberty. I encourage all of you to go and check out all of his content, all of his websites, because this is one of the good guys. Church and State is brought to you in part by Colonial Life Spokane Independent Agents, Finders Insurance, and Mark37.com. I'm Caleb Collier. I was born for a storm.
Welcome to the fire.
Hey, this is Caleb Collier with Church and State, and I want to tell you about methylene blue. For a long time now, you've seen the Maha people using methylene blue. I thought I'd give it a try. You know what? It helped me considerably, not only with mental clarity, but also with insomnia. Now, you got to be careful with methylene blue because the market is filled with counterfeit products. But Best 365 Labs is the greatest methylene blue on the market. I'm telling you, take this stuff, enjoy the benefits, and it'll also have a little bit of fun when going to the bathroom. I need you to go to best365labs.com and use that promo code Church and State. You're going to get a discount. You'll also be helping to support Church and State and our pursuit of truth. Hey, this is Caleb Collier with the Church and State Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I want all of you to go to Galileo.com. You need to stay connected no matter what comes our way. Whether it's government intrusion or a meteor falling from the sky, Galileo has you connected. As a Marine veteran, I can tell you that communications is essential. Galileo has you connected. Whether it's worldwide coverage, uncensored content, or real-time alerts, Galileo is going to make sure that you're connected with your friends, family, and neighbors. Just head on over to churchandstate.media, scroll over to shop, and hit Galileo.com. Make sure to ask them for a free bivy stick, and make sure to use that promo code Church and State. Hey, this is Caleb Collier, and I know you're excited for the Church and State podcast. Now, as a Christian patriot, I love precious metals, whether it's gold, silver, palladium, and of course, lead. And this is why I want you to go over to Ponderay Ballistics, don't ask me how to spell it, for all of your ammunition needs. Remember, that's Pendoreille ballistics.com for all of your ammunition needs. I want you to head on over to churchandstate.media/shop, go to Ponderay Ballistics, and have a shooting good time.